Okay, 50,000 BC, Southern Africa. One night with ancient humans, find out what they did after dark. Simple observation trip. I did my research, read the whole thing, both pages. I did not read that part. It probably wasn't relevant. I brought a granola bar. I'm completely ready for this. 50,000 BC, here we go. Oh, I can't see my hand. I'm holding it right in front of my face and I cannot see it. Not dark like the lights are off. Dark like there is no difference between eyes open and eyes closed. This is not darkness. This is the absence of everything. For 99% of human history, this is what night looked like. No street lamps, no phone screens, no ambient glow from any city anywhere. Just the sky and whatever fire you could keep alive. Modern humans have never experienced this. Something is happening. I can't see anything, but I can hear everything. Every single thing in this entire savanna is now entering my ears at full volume. In complete darkness, the brain redistributes sensory resources to hearing within minutes. Ancient humans developed extraordinary night hearing sensitivity. Every crack of a branch, every animal breath, I can currently hear something breathing that is definitely not me. That is a sound. Something made that sound. I am going to stand completely still and not be food. There, fire. That is fire. I am going toward that fire. I dropped something. I'm not stopping. That was the granola bar, wasn't it? That was the granola bar. 4 minutes in. 4 minutes already. Found them. A tribe. 6 people around a fire. They are staring at me. I am staring at them. Nobody is saying anything. Nobody is moving. They're looking at me like I'm something that shouldn't exist. People don't walk out of the darkness at night. People who walk out of the darkness at night are usually the things that eat you. I came from the darkness looking completely panicked, and they have decided this means I have powers. I'm not going to correct them. I am going to let them believe whatever they need to believe. A campfire creates a safety circle roughly 30 feet in diameter. Inside that circle, predators don't come. The light, the heat, the unpredictability of fire, animals that can see perfectly in the dark still won't cross that line. Outside that circle, you die. This is not a metaphor. This is documented by anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups today. I am inside this circle and I plan to stay here. They're giving me food, something roasted on a stick. I don't know what this is, I'm not going to ask. It's fine, it's protein, it's something. There's no more. That was all of it. Between 7 people, I just ate most of it. I have made a significant social error. I'm sorry, I was very hungry. I didn't count correctly. I'm so sorry. Before fire, the backup plan was sleeping in trees. Here's the problem with that plan. Leopards specifically hunt in trees. Archaeologists have found human bones with leopard claw marks in cave sites across Africa. The tree was not a backup plan. The tree was just a slower version of the same problem. Fire wasn't a comfort upgrade. Fire was the only thing standing between the human species and extinction every single night. I'm going to sit as close to this fire as physically possible without being on fire. I've been here 20 minutes. I'm hungry. I need to use the bathroom. The bathroom is out there, in the dark, where the trees are. The bathroom is in that direction, near those trees. I need to make a decision. Just slightly outside. 30 seconds. In and out. Completely fine. This is completely fine. Nothing is going to... New plan. Attempt 2. Going back. New policy. Always look up. Always. No exceptions. I am implementing a strict always look up policy starting immediately. Always look up. Attempt 2. Inside the circle. Not moving. Observing only. There's one person here who isn't relaxing. They're watching the fire. Specifically watching it. They know exactly what they're doing. This isn't someone randomly feeding a fire. This is a professional. The firekeeper. The person whose job was to make sure the fire didn't go out during the night. Anthropologists believe this may be the first specialized division of labor in human history. While everyone slept, one person stayed awake. If the fire went out, the circle collapsed and every predator outside had been watching the light the whole time. Healthy fire. Full circle. Fire weakening. Circle shrinking. Fire out. No circle. Everyone becomes available to everything outside it. That person is doing the most important job in the world right now, and I am sitting here hungry and about to make this worse. The thing about prehistoric silence is that it's absolute. No refrigerator hum, no distant car, no anything, which means when my stomach speaks, it speaks to everyone in this circle simultaneously. That was loud. That was loud enough to wake people up. I have woken people up my digestive system. I am deeply sorry to everyone in this circle. I'm pressing on it. I don't think that's how stomachs work. That's fair. That is entirely fair. I found a root near the fire. I don't know if this is edible. I'm going to find out the hard way. That is terrible. I'm having more. It is still terrible. It is less terrible than nothing. That person has been awake for hours watching a fire, keeping every single person in this circle alive, and I'm eating a root and contributing 0. The fire looked like it needed... I was going to help. I thought I was helping. I was helping. I nearly killed everyone. They fixed it. In 30 seconds. Everything I broke in 3 seconds, they fixed in 30. And the firekeeper didn't even look at me, which I completely respect. I'm going to sit here, very quietly, hands in lap, not touching anything, not helping with anything, not contributing to any fires going out. I am so hungry. I am also very thirsty. I have been thirsty since I got here. There is a river somewhere out there. I can hear it. I cannot go to the river. The river is right there. I can hear it. I am so thirsty. I am also not going to the river. Something is changing. The survival mode is fading. Someone is talking, performing. I don't understand a single word, but I understand this completely. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner studied one of the last groups still living close to the original human lifestyle. Daytime, 80% practical. Logistics, work. Nighttime around the fire, 81% stories. Myths, adventures, jokes, tales of people in distant places. The campfire was the original theater, the original classroom, the original church. It's where humans learned to think beyond the immediate present and imagine things that didn't exist yet. The stories told around fires like this one built every civilization that came after. Someone is making people feel something, and it's working. I don't understand a word, and it's working on me too. They want me to tell a story. I know stories. I can do this. I'm explaining YouTube. I'm telling them that in the future, humans sit alone in the dark, watching small glowing rectangles to see other humans tell stories around fires. I think this is landing. It is not landing. Switched to acting out the leopard, and they loved it. The content didn't matter. The performance mattered. The sharing of experience mattered. I did not understand this until right now. The campfire is the same thing for them as the screen is for us. Just people telling each other things that happened in the dark. The oldest musical instruments ever found, bone flutes and percussion stones, date back over 40,000 years. Music around fires like this one is documented. The night wasn't just darkness and fear. It was full of sound, stories, rhythm. This is the first music, right here, right now. This exact rhythm is the beginning of everything that comes after it. I don't know why this is making me feel something, but it is. I've been here 5 hours and haven't had a drop of water. The mystery meat is gone. The route was terrible. That river is right there. I can hear it. Right there. They won't let me go. 3 times. Every time. The river is right there. I can hear the river. It is water. I need water. The river is 30 feet away. Predators wait at water sources at night. Every prey animal needs to drink eventually. The river at night is not a water source. It's a trap. Crocodiles, leopards on the bank. The tribe knows this the way I know not to touch a hot stove. I was about to touch the stove. This is not a complicated calculation. River at night, high probability of being eaten. Fire circle at night, low probability of being eaten. The tribe has been running this math for their entire lives. I almost got it wrong twice. That person saved my life. I was 30 seconds from the river. I was 30 seconds from the crocodiles. Thank you. Whoever you are, thank you. Okay, I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I can't go to the river. I can't leave the circle. The options are exactly sit here or sit here. And sitting here is fine. Sitting here is great. Sitting here is survival. Inside, safe. Outside, not that. I'm going to sleep on the ground with no pillow, no blanket, and nothing meaningful in my stomach. Every human who ever lived before about 150 years ago did exactly this every single night. Every single one of them. This is fine. This is completely historically normal. I woke up, completely, in the middle of the night. I didn't mean to. It just happened. And nobody else seems to think this is unusual. Historian Roger E. Kirch spent 16 years going through historical records and found over 500 references spanning centuries. Prayer books from the 1400s, court records, diaries, Homer's Odyssey, all mentioning the same thing. First sleep, then a wakeful period, then second sleep. This wasn't insomnia, this was the design. Nobody is panicking. Nobody is trying to go back to sleep. This is apparently just what happens at 2 a.m. because it was always what happened at 2 a.m. There's a specific feeling in this hour. Not tired, not quite awake, something in between. Calm, in a way that feels like the presence of something rather than the absence of something else. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Ware removed all artificial light from a group of volunteers for 1 month. Within weeks, every single participant settled into the same pattern. First sleep, wakeful period, second sleep. Nobody told them to do this, their bodies just did it, and during the watch their brains were producing elevated prolactin, the same hormone released during meditation. What if waking up at 2 a.m. isn't insomnia? What if it's your body remembering what it was built to do? The watch still exists in your biology. We just filled it with phone screens and called the wakefulness a problem. I've been running and panicking and eating roots since I got here, and right now, completely still, I feel calm. Genuinely calm. I didn't know this was available to me out here. The sky. I thought I'd seen the sky. My whole life, I've looked at the sky, I haven't seen the sky. This is the sky. Without any artificial light, the Milky Way is bright enough to cast faint shadows on the ground. Ancient humans used the stars for navigation, for marking hunting seasons, for calendar systems, every constellation, every myth about gods in the sky, every story about the stars meaning something. It started here, because they could actually see them. Researchers found that people who go camping for just 1 week with no artificial light have their melatonin cycles reset by nearly 2 hours. 1 week. That's all it takes for the ancient programming to reassert itself. There's a shadow. My hand is casting a shadow from the stars, from starlight. I didn't know that was physically possible. Okay, I understand why they looked at this every night. I completely understand. Everyone in this circle has been doing this every night since they could understand what night was. This exact hour, this exact sky, this exact fire. For generations before them, and generations before that, and they will do this every night until someone who comes after them does it instead. I've been here 6 hours. I was hungry the entire time, thirsty the entire time. The river was right there. I slept on the ground. I nearly killed everyone by adding wrong wood to the fire, and this is the most at peace I have felt in a very long time. Even my stomach has gotten the message. There it is. I've been here 6 hours, one piece of unidentified meat and part of a root. Dropped my only backup food in the savannah, cannot go to the river. No options. This was every night of every ancestor I've ever had until about 150 years ago. Hunger at night was normal. Thirst at night was normal. Discomfort was normal, and they kept the fire alive. And they told stories, and they looked at those stars and built entire mythologies around them, on an empty stomach, every night, for 300,000 years. I want to go home and eat something and drink about a liter of water, but I also don't want this to end yet. Both things are true at the same time. Second sleep, 4 more hours. I know what this is now. I'm doing the thing that every human who ever lived used to do, every single one of them. That person kept the fire alive all night, every night. Someone always kept the fire alive, every night. Someone always kept the fire alive. This is water. I was hungry for 6 hours, 6 hours in one night. My ancestors were hungry like that every single night of their lives, alongside everything else they were doing. This is bread. This is just bread. I have never been this grateful for bread. Here's what I know, now that I didn't know before last night. Every single thing that happened last night, the darkness, the hunger, the thirst, the fire, the stories, the blocked river, the watch, the stars, was every night for 300,000 years. Not occasionally, every single night. 109 million nights. Someone kept the fire alive. Someone told stories until the tribe fell asleep. Someone woke during the watch and lay in the dark and thought about their life. Your tap water, clean, cold, on demand. The end point of 3,000 years of people who couldn't go to the river at night because the crocodiles were waiting. That tap has been available to humans for approximately the last fraction of 1% of human history. Everything else was the fire. The word curfew literally means cover fire. Medieval towns rang a bell at night telling everyone to extinguish their fires, because night was supposed to be dark. Night was when you were vulnerable. For most of human history, being outside at night without fire meant something had gone very wrong. Paris installed street lamps in the 1600s, gas lamps in the 1800s, Edison's bulb in 1879. Within one generation, the night that humans had known for 300,000 years was gone. We conquered it, we flooded it with light, and we thought that was only progress. Modern humans are exposed to artificial light 7 to 8 hours after sunset. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a light bulb and the sun. When light hits your retina at 11 p.m., your brain thinks it's daytime. It delays melatonin. It fragments your sleep. It erases the watch. The watch still exists in your biology. It's just that we filled it with phone screens and called the wakefulness a disorder instead of a feature. For 300,000 years, the night was where humans became human. Not during the hunt, not during the work, in the dark, around a fire, telling each other things that mattered. Every story ever told, every joke ever laughed at, every myth ever believed, every time two people looked at the same stars and felt less alone. It started here, around a fire that someone had to keep alive. You are 300,000 years of people who kept the fire alive. Every single one of them made it through the night. Every single one of them woke up, or you wouldn't be here. And now it's 2 a.m. and you can't sleep and you're watching a stick figure get chased by a leopard. They would have loved this. I'm Dave. That was 50,000 BC. I was hungry the entire time. I was thirsty the entire time. I nearly killed everyone by adding the wrong wood to a fire. I died once. It was the most important night I've ever had. Subscribe. New video every week. Come back. Somebody has to keep the fire alive. Same time next week. Real history. Terrible. Okay, new plan.